including power prices, particularly in Queensland. Now, One Nation at the time copped a lot because they said, well, hang on, the government-owned companies are making an awful lot of money. Why not make them not focus on profit, put that money into being able to deliver a power price cut, and guess what? Prices would go down. Of course, they didn't end up getting anything more than one seat, but still, have a look at this. Queensland's government-owned energy corporations posted a massive $1.9 billion profit last year, 45% increase on the $1.3 billion in 2016. The average market energy prices rose to record highs of $93.12 per megawatt hour. What do you think about this here, David, when the government-owned entity is running at a profit, of which the profit eventually is raked back to try to balance up a budget?
Yeah, well, we hear this argument coming from the left side of politics about New South Wales and Victoria and South Australia having privatised their electricity, and they keep saying, oh, if that hadn't happened, you know, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in. That electricity would be cheaper and it would be owned by the government and all that sort of stuff. And of course they point to the dividends that are being paid by the Queensland Energy Corporation, energy companies, to the Queensland government, and say, oh, we're missing out on that. But of course, who's getting screwed here? It's the consumers in all the states. Doesn't matter who owns it, the consumers are getting screwed.
Yeah.
And I can't see why the Queensland government, if they refuse to sell their electricity companies, it's been quite a big issue on their agenda for quite a while now, they just won't do it. So if they think it's such a good idea, how come they're screwing their consumers anyway?
Correct. Exactly right. So the way we keep the prices down is because we own it. Well, then tell them to not run at a profit, and such a massive profit, unless, of course, that money is directly going back into some sort of other subsidy somewhere. Andrew, for your sins, you covered power privatisation in New South Wales
for a long time.
Very long time. But, I mean, this is taking the piss at an unbelievably large level.
Well, this was a trick used in New South Wales for many years by Treasury and by the government, and it sounds like, you know, that's what's happening in Queensland. It effectively becomes a tax. You're paying a tax on your power bill in order to prop up Treasury. And, you know, so much so that when it came to Mike Baird privatising power, the opposition said, oh, you'll lose the dividends. The budget will take a hit because you'll lose the dividends. Well, there shouldn't be any dividends if it's supposed to be a public service.
Absolutely correct. I mean, Senator Hume too. We'll get to Xenophon and his stuff in a couple of seconds here. But I mean, I just think it's one of these things. The people of Queensland, who you know, have apparently on now 2 elections gone down the path of let's not sell this stuff off, also need to create some pressure on their government, saying, well, what are you doing with that massive profit?
I agree with you, Paul. This is a redistributionist agenda gone mad, quite frankly, but it shouldn't come as a surprise because, you know, Rod Sims, the chair of the ACCC, flagged this very issue last year. He said that the Queensland state-owned duopoly of electricity generators was in fact pushing up power prices. Now, the ACCC has an inquiry going on at the moment into retail pricing, and that will come out in June, and I'm sure that there will be an awful lot more that the government will have to say once we receive that particular report. But in the meantime, I don't think that anybody in Queensland should be hoodwinked into thinking that this is a win for Queenslanders. It's certainly not. It's certainly not a win for consumers.
No, absolutely. Now, look, just to, again, hear the nonsense in South Australia going on here where Xenophon's going to pretend to bring your power prices down. How will he do it? Well, as I said, his idea is that the price of him being kingmaker is a promise from the Premier, you know, to do all the hard work. He's just going to sit back and say he did it. And if you don't drop it by 20%, he'll allegedly push for you to be sacked within 2 years. Can you tell I don't buy this? Here's what Patrick Murrell reports from Adelaide today.
Premier Jay Weatherall wasn't backing down from Josh Frydenberg's doubling down sledge. Instead, he continued his streak on renewable energy.
I was accused of being a problem gambler. Well, today, South Australia has hit the jobs jackpot.
That jackpot comes in the form of German company Sonnen moving its Sydney headquarters to Adelaide and announcing plans for a factory that would build household batteries in South Australia. Not to be outdone, Nick Xenophon's SA Best revealed part of its own energy policy. Taking aim at retailers, he announced plans for a community-based, not-for-profit retailer.
We just want to keep the bastards accountable on energy prices, whoever those bastards will be.
He claims this will bring prices down by 20%.
Look, he has no credit.
The Liberals were campaigning on the local defence industry, promising $1 million in scholarships. The campaign continues. Patrick Murrell, Sky News, Adelaide.
Two things. The jobs jackpot, 130 jobs are what are coming with this. So that is a problem gambler who thinks 130 is a jackpot. I know because I play the pokies. But also, Christopher Pine, can I just give you a little bit of advice, and you could pass it on to Malcolm Turnbull. I know that you're one of these politicians who thinks the more of you throw at a problem, you'll solve it. When the Libs are this shithouse, the more of you doesn't help. Just an observation. Senator Leyonhjelm, you saw Nick Xenophon the way he worked in the Senate. It's classic stuff. Make a big promise like this. Everyone else does the hard work and he's the one who does it. Yeah. But people, they'll fall for it. But what do you think?
Yes, well, but it's no surprise to me to hear him doing that. There is a story, I'm not 100% sure it's true, but I was told by another senator that going back a few years when there were protests about wind turbines, Nick went along to a rally which was in favour of wind turbines and renewables and spoke at that. And then later that same day there was a rally against wind turbines and Nick went to that one too. I don't know whether it's true or not.
It's a good story. Let's just get it out there.
He plays both sides of the streets quite a lot, but his voting record is very telling. He votes 80% at least with the Greens.
Correct.
He doesn't like the Greens and they don't like him either, but there's a reason for that in many respects, that they're fighting for the same voters in any case. He doesn't want to establish too much of a gap between him and the Greens on these issues. He's always been concerned about the cost of renewables driving up electricity, but he's never been so concerned about it that he said, well, we shouldn't have more renewables.
Correct. But this is the thing, Andrew, where the fundamental fraud of saying the way I'll bring down your power prices is making them do it, and if they don't, they have to quit.
He's king of the gimmick, you know, and as you said before, it actually works. That's the thing about it. I mean, I remember going to a school reunion in Perth a couple of years ago and all these punters were saying to me, oh, I actually quite like Nick Xenophon. I like what he's got to say. You know, nothing to do with WA is, but he wins votes out of it, but people need to see that it's all BS. And I wonder how much that ridiculous ad will take the gloss off for him. But
wow. But again, it's this thing though, Senator Hume, where again, you've worked in the Senate with him. The truth is that ad isn't aimed at people watching this program, actually engaged with their ears and eyes open. It's engaged for the people that are, you know, reality TV and loving FM radio, and that's fine. They've got other stuff to do in their life, but this is how he works, which is, you know, he wants a job for life sitting up the back of the parliament where he doesn't actually have to do anything.
Well, I think you're right. This is populism on steroids, which is something that I think Nick is famous for. As charming as he is, this is not good policy making. The most important thing, I think, for the voters of South Australia is to remember the effect of that they were the canary in the coal mine, that this 50% renewable energy target, this ideological approach to energy supply, cause irreparable damage to their economy and to businesses and families. The most important thing now for South Australia and for all states is to get on board this national energy guarantee that is going to guarantee affordable and reliable energy without taxes, without subsidies, without trading schemes, and do away with the ideology and the idiocy of renewable energy targets, extreme renewable energy targets.
All right.